Welcome to the Savage Executive Podcast, where we lead with clarity, build with strategy, and multiply what matters. I'm your host, Steve Smith, and today we're talking about one of the most important skills any leader can master: communication that cuts through the noise. This is episode 15. We're going to talk all about communication that cuts through. Say less, lead more. Let's begin with today's savage moment. Communication isn't what you say, it's what they understand. As leaders, we often think that clarity is how well we explain things. But the best leaders measure clarity by how well others grasp what we said. Not by how confidently we speak, not by whether people nod, not by how many slides we show, but how clearly the message lands on the other side. A while back, we were rolling out a new process designed to help us evaluate potential initiatives. Everything from ministry ideas to community partnerships to opportunities that might blend business strategy with mission. The goal was simple: give our team a clear way to process ideas so we could steward opportunities wisely. A key team member presented the process during a leadership meeting while I was out of town. He communicated the why, the what, and the how. Everyone nodded. Everyone took notes. Everyone walked out looking aligned. At least that's what it looked like. But over the next few days, I began hearing hallway conversations, questions, and concerns that made it obvious the message hadn't landed the way it sounded in the room. Some thought we were shifting too far into business thinking. Some didn't know when to use the process, or even who owned it, or what decisions that it would influence. To put it simply, the nodding in the meeting had very little to do with actual understanding. By the time we got into a subsequent meeting, the misalignment was clear. So I slowed things down. I walked back through the purpose and the heart behind the process. And almost instantly, you could feel the room shift. The tension lifted. People got it. They weren't resistant, they were just unclear. And that's when I learned something that I've had to relearn over and over. If people don't understand, they can't align. And if they can't align, they can't execute. Clarity isn't about how much you say, it's about whether people walk away knowing exactly what to do next. In my context, leading a church, a large school, and a staff team of 160 people, communication isn't optional. It's mission critical. But this principle is universal. Business leaders, nonprofit directors, entrepreneurs, ministry teams, educators, department heads, we all need the same thing: communication that cuts through complexity. As organizations grow, communication naturally drifts towards complexity. More people, more layers, more opinions, more systems. And when complexity goes up, clarity goes down. That's why effective leaders don't just communicate more, they communicate better. Let's break this down into 3 skills that every leader needs to communicate with clarity and authority. Skill number 1, simplify the message. Great leaders fight the urge to say everything at once. They focus on the few things that matter most and respond in a way that is concise, direct, actionable, and mission aligned. Here's the principle: if you want people to remember something, don't bury it under everything. Ask yourself, what is the one thing I need them to understand? Then build everything else around that. When communication gets shorter, it usually gets sharper. Skill number 2, confirm alignment, not agreement. Just because someone nods doesn't mean they understand. Nodding often means, I hear you. I want the meeting to keep moving. I'm not sure yet, but I'll figure it out later. Leaders who communicate well don't settle for agreement. They pursue alignment. Alignment sounds like this. Before we leave, repeat back what your team is responsible for. Tell me the first step that you'll take to move this forward. What concerns do you see from your angle? What am I not explaining clearly? You see, one of the best tools you can use is the simple question, what did you hear? It's amazing what comes out when you ask that. Sometimes it's exactly what you intended, and sometimes it's wildly different. Either way, it's the clarity you need to lead effectively. Skill number 3, share the right amount of information with the right people. Leaders often confuse transparency with clarity. You see, transparency is good, but oversharing is not. Great communication requires discernment. Who needs this information and who does not? How much do they need? What is the simplest way to say it? What is the action step? Here's a principle that I teach my own team. If everything is important, nothing is clear. When communicating with your organization, especially across multiple teams or departments, you will always do better by targeted communication rather than broadcasting everything to everyone. You might be thinking to yourself, why say less? Because less is actually stronger. Leaders who say less accomplish more because people can act faster. Confusion decreases. Conflict reduces. Meetings shorten. Teams feel empowered. Decisions become clearer. Execution accelerates. Communication becomes a tool of momentum, not maintenance. And most importantly, precision breeds trust, and trust multiplies influence. This is the key. Communication that worked when you led 5 people won't work when you lead 50. Communication that worked when you led 1 team won't work when you lead 5 teams. Communication that worked when your organization was small won't scale when it becomes complex. Growing leaders grow their communication skills. And in my context, leading both a church and a school teams, I've learned that the hard way. Growth demands more clarity, not more words. So here's the savage takeaway for today. Say less, mean more, make it clear. Let me give you an action step for this week. Choose one upcoming meeting or email or conversation and look at what you plan to say and ask yourself, what can I remove? What will matter most to them? What does clarity require? Then deliver the message shorter, sharper, and with absolute clarity. Your team will thank you. Thanks for joining me on the Savage Executive Podcast. If today's episode helped you think differently, share it with another leader who's ready to communicate with more clarity and lead with more confidence. Can I encourage you to stop over to our website, savageexecutive.com, and see all that is going on. And remember, stay sharp, lead boldly, and keep building what matters.